When I was trying to quit drinking, alcohol knocked me out countless times. Until one day, I won. And I've been winning for 12 months straight. If you also want to kick alcohol out of your life, then stick around because I'm sharing 13 game-changing tips from my journey that you can start applying today to kickstart your own path to sobriety. Vámonos! Tip number 1. Don't give up. Here's unfiltered truth. Studies show that around 40 to 60% of people dealing with their relationship with alcohol will experience relapses. So, just like I did, you might relapse and stumble along your path to sobriety. Relapses can be painful and discouraging, but they don't define you. Each stumble is a chance to learn and grow stronger. Michael Jordan nailed it when he said, "I stumbled over and over again, and that's why I succeeded." God, I love that quote. The idea of staying sober forever seemed like a mountain too high to climb. It was really overwhelming, especially when people would ask, "How long are you planning to stay sober?" I wanted to say forever, but that felt like too much. If you're feeling the same way, here's what helped me keep going through the tough times. I took it one day at a time. As Lao Tzu wisely said, a journey of 1,000 miles starts with a single step. Just focus on getting through today, because each day you stay sober is a victory, and over time, those victories add up. And before you know it, being sober becomes second nature. Remember, no matter how tough it gets, keep trying. Each step forward, no matter how small, is progress. Tip number 2. Harness the power of I am. Words have power, and the phrases you use to describe yourself can shape your reality. One of the most impactful phrases we have is I am. And when you use it to affirm positive qualities, you start to embody these attributes. So, if you want to kick alcohol out of your life, instead of saying I don't drink, try saying I am sober. It might seem like a small and subtle shift, but it's a very powerful one. Positive affirmations focus on what you want to be, not what you're avoiding. Think about it this way. If I ask you not to think of a purple llama, what's the first thing that pops in your mind? That's right, a purple llama. Our mind focuses on what we say, not what we don't want. So, when you use positive affirmations such as I am strong or I am capable, you are training your mind to focus on those positive qualities. The more you affirm these positive statements, the more they become part of who you are. Embrace the power of I am and watch it transform your reality. Tip number 3. You create your own reality. Here's something I share with people who come to me with complaints. Henry Ford's famous quote, "Whether you think you can or you think you can't, you are right." It might sting a bit, but it's a powerful reminder that we create our own reality. Your life is like a garden, and it's up to you to make it flourish. Think about the flowers in your garden as your thoughts, which ultimately are the ones shaping your reality. Feel like a failure? Water that and you will be a failure. Feel a little bit hopeful after watching videos about sobriety? Water those thoughts. You will see that the thoughts you don't water eventually fade away. As Ernest Holmes wisely said, change your thinking, change your life. Here's a story from my own experience. For years, I believed I was dumb. Seriously, dumb. I'd compare myself to others who seemed smarter or more successful, thinking, I could never be like them. They're smart and have their lives together. I'm dumb and everybody knows it. But after quitting alcohol and doing some serious inner work, I realized I was acting like a dumb person because I believed I was dumb. My actions reflected my thoughts. See how it works? Once I understood this, I started taking care of my mental garden. I learned a technique from John Assaraf that changed everything for me. Whenever a negative thought popped up, I put it in the past tense and added the words I used to think. So instead of saying I am dumb, I would say I used to think I was dumb. This shifts a negative charge to the past and remind you that these thoughts are not facts. They're just outdated beliefs. Try this technique whenever the negative voices in your head show up and see how you start changing your thoughts, therefore your life. Tip number 4, stop blaming others. Some people believe they're the masters of their own fate. Others see themselves as pawns of faith, believing their lives are governed by chances or luck. Which one are you? In my case, I used to blame everything and everyone for the problems in my life. In other words, I was always playing the victim. Here's how it looked. Hated my job, I was quick to blame my boss for my dissatisfaction, instead of looking for new job opportunities or talking to management about my concerns or potential growth. Money problems? I pointed fingers at the government, big corporations, global issues, you name it, rather than finding ways to increase my income or manage my finances better. Strained romantic relationships? I blamed the other person for being toxic and not fulfilling my needs, instead of questioning my own role in the relationship. Anxiety? I blamed alcohol for my anxiety, using it as an excuse to avoid dealing with the deeper, uncomfortable issues inside me I was trying to numb. And the list went on and on. But one day, I had a revelation. The common denominator in all my problems wasn't my boss, the government, my ex-partners, my parents, or even the alcohol. It was me. Once I recognized this, I realized that I was in control of my own life. If I had gotten myself into these messy situations, I could also get myself out. Here's a quick exercise to help shift from the poor me mentality to creator of my destiny mindset. Grab a piece of paper and a pencil and draw 3 columns. In the first column, list your life problems. In the second one, list who or what you blame for them. In the third column, note how you can solve each problem. Be brutally honest with yourself, and you might be surprised by what you discover.
And the answer is, you
Tip number 5, don't believe everything your mind tells you. Have you ever heard that little voice in your head saying things like, I'm not enough, I'm an imposter, everyone's laughing at me? I think we've all been there. Well, what if I told you that that little voice in your head, it's not you, but a protective mechanism called the ego? So, what's the ego and why does it matter? The ego is essentially your mind's self-image, shaped by old beliefs and fears from early in life. It's not your real self, but a part of you that keeps you in your comfort zone and shields you from pain. When you hear those negative thoughts, remember, they're just the ego speaking, not who you really are. And here's the interesting part. The ego controls your life until you become aware of it and let your true self take charge. For instance, when I face negativity, I tell my ego, if you have nothing positive to say, please refrain from contacting me. And you can do the same. This takes practice, but the more you treat your ego as an external voice, the easier it will be to stay positive and achieve your sobriety goals. Tip number 6, fear is bueno. Jim Loehr is a world-renowned performance psychologist working with everyone from Fortune 100 to Olympic champions. He shares a crucial key to achieve success: running towards what scares you. The thing is, when fear hits, it's often a sign that you're on the verge of something important. If you're afraid of doing something, it's usually your ego trying to protect you by keeping you in your comfort zone. I remember my first social gathering after quitting alcohol. I was terrified people would think I was weird. What I didn't know is that they already thought that. After all, I used to think people who didn't drink were boring and a bit crazy. But I decided to give it a shot. I mean, I had to do it at some point, right? And you know what? When I got there, I actually ended up having a blast. I was chatting, laughing, and genuinely enjoying myself. And most importantly, almost nobody cared if I drank or not. This was a real eye-opener, and it showed me that my fear was just my mind playing tricks on me. And also, it taught me that there's nothing wrong with being weird. So, next time you're feeling scared, take it as a sign that you're on the right track. Embrace the fear, and you might just find that it leads you to something incredible. Tip number 7. You're living the life you tolerate. What we tolerate, we accept. Want to quit alcohol and turn your life around? Start by examining your tolerance levels and making changes. Consider toxic relationships. We've all had, or currently have, a relationship that makes us wonder, what the hell was I thinking? No, seriously, why did nobody tell me anything? En serio, nadie me dijo nada. We tolerate it because we thought it was the best we could get, and we're afraid to start over and be alone. And the same principle applies to our relationship with alcohol. Tony Robbins wisely said, "Change happens when the pain of staying the same is greater than the pain of change." So, how do you become someone who no longer accepts an undesired reality? Start by identifying the pain points in your life and envisioning the future if you continue to accept them. It might be challenging, but it's profoundly transformative. One practical and very powerful technique is to list out what you dislike about your current situation and recognize what you are tolerating. For instance, I wasn't happy with the food business I started last year. I was tolerating constant stress and lack of sleep, which led me to drink every day to cope with the stress. By changing my tolerance and stepping away from that business, I discovered that the permission I was waiting for was actually my own. Reflect on what you are tolerating and give yourself permission to make a change. Your journey to quitting alcohol can start by redefining what you tolerate and what you don't. Tip number 8. Quitting alcohol is just a gateway for real healing. Quitting alcohol is a major milestone, but it's just the beginning of a deeper journey. For me, drinking was a way to avoid dealing with my inner pain. Sure, some people can drink socially and stop at 1 or 2 drinks, and that's great. But if you're anything like me, you might have struggled or are still struggling with alcohol despite wanting to quit. And here's the uncomfortable truth. Quitting alcohol doesn't erase the pain. True healing begins when you face a pain head-on and choose love over fear every single day. So, how do you start a healing process? Begin by understanding that healing is a journey, not a destination, and also it's different for everyone. It involves continuously choosing to confront your fears with love and compassion instead of running away from them. If you're unsure where to start with small, manageable steps. In my case, watching YouTube videos of others who have navigated similar challenges helped me realize that I was not alone. I also reached out to a therapist, joined support groups, and eventually found the courage to talk to people I trusted. From there, the next steps started to become clear. Remember, quitting alcohol opens the door to change, but the real healing comes from the ongoing work you do on yourself. Tip number 9. Quitting makes you invincible. When you quit alcohol, it's just you and your thoughts. No numbing, no distractions. And facing that head-on is a level of bravery most people never reach. It's easy to run from your pain, but sitting down with it? That takes real courage. And when you do, you discover who you really are. Flaws, strengths, everything. In other words, you become unshakable. If someone tried to tear me down today and call me dumb, like I used to think of myself in the past, I wouldn't be affected at all. I've already faced the darkest corners of my mind and know exactly who I am. A wonderful, smart person. And that's the power you gain when you quit drinking. You stop questioning if the grass is greener on the other side because you've made peace with your own garden. Instead of getting defensive or feeling hurt, you start feeling compassion for those who only see the negative. And that's how you know you're not just sober, you're actually healing and growing as a person. That's when you realize when your sober life isn't just good, it's priceless. Tip number 10. Life happens in the present moment. We often stress over the past or worry about the future, when there's only one moment we truly control. Right now. That's why when you say something like, "Oh, I'll have one last drink tonight and start fresh tomorrow," it almost never works. Why? Because tomorrow is just a concept. It's always out of reach. When tomorrow comes, it becomes today. And suddenly, the excuses start again. The reality is, real change only happens in the present moment. So don't fall into the trap of waiting for tomorrow. The power to transform your life exists in this very moment. Take that step towards your sober life now. Tip number 11. Talk it out. Let's be real, nobody likes feeling judged, especially by the ones we care about the most. That's why it took me so long to open up to my closest friends and family about considering quitting alcohol. The biggest thing holding me back? Embarrassment. Admitting it out loud felt like I was confirming I had a problem, and I didn't want to see that look in their eyes. You know, the one that says, "We knew you were a failure all along." But after finally summoning the courage to share my thoughts with a select few, something incredible happened. It wasn't that big of a deal. I quickly realized that people who truly love you aren't there to judge you. They are there to support you. Who knew? 2 things especially blew my mind. The first one was how kind and understanding their reactions were. And the second, a couple of them were actually thinking about quitting alcohol themselves. It's a game changer when you realize you're not alone. And if you feel like you need a more structured approach, consider seeking out professional support like therapists, support groups, AA meetings, and such. Knowing there's a network of people rooting for your success can make a big difference. Tip number 12. Reflect on who you hang out with. You are the combined average of the 5 people you associate with the most. Your income, your accomplishments, even your values and philosophy will reflect them. So take a look around. If the people closest to you are stuck in negativity, blaming others, living in the past, or drowning their sorrows in alcohol, what are the chances you'll rise above that? Not great, right? I know it's a tough question, but ask yourself, are there people in your life holding you back because of their negative influence? I had to face this myself when I realized that my so-called closest friends and I would never hang out without a drink in our hands. I remember when I started to explore sobriety, I would tell them that I wasn't drinking that night, and what would they do? They would push me to have 1 drink. Yeah, 1 drink. Such great friends, right? But here's the truth. No matter how much I wanted to blame them, no matter how much they pushed me to drink, the final decision was always mine. I had to own that. Once I did, I chose to let go of that group. And guess what? It wasn't as hard as I thought it would be. Because the more I said no to drinking, the less they called. Eventually, they faded away, and it was honestly a relief. It's never easy to let go of people, especially those you once considered close. But remember, your environment matters. Surround yourself with people who lift you up, support your goals, and help you become the best version of yourself. Your journey to sobriety deserves nothing less. Tip number 13. Celebrate your accomplishments. The road to sobriety is filled with small victories, and every single one of them deserves to be celebrated. Whether you're counting days, weeks, or months, acknowledging these milestones can keep you motivated and focused on your goal. Treat yourself to something special or share your wins with those who support you. Whether you made it through your first party without a drink or hit that 1-month sober mark, take a moment to realize how far you've come. Now, think about this. When you meet someone who is sober, do you ask them how many times they relapsed or do you congratulate them? Exactly, you focus on the positive part of the journey. So why not do the same with yourself? Celebrate your progress, no matter how big or small. You deserve it, mi amigo. So there you have it. These lessons helped me become a better version of myself. And I sincerely hope they've been valuable to you as well. I also wanted to thank you for being here on my 1-year sober anniversary. Yes! And before you go, I've got a wild story for you. A few weeks ago, I ordered a mocktail at the restaurant, but they served me a cocktail instead. What happened next? Total chaos. If you want to hear the full story and discover the 5 lessons I learned from that experience, click here. Thanks for watching! Please hit the like button and subscribe, so this video can reach more people looking to change their relationship with alcohol. Here are a couple of my other videos in case you want to check them out. Have a good one! Bye!